Victoria De Francesco Soto from Latino Decisions is back with us at the table. And back in 2009, President Obama promised to make investigating those responsible for the housing crisis a top priority of his administration. 3 years later, it's hard to say that that promise has been met. On Tuesday, however, President Obama announced a new Justice Department task force to investigate mortgage and securitization fraud.
I'm asking my Attorney General to create a special unit of federal prosecutors and leading state attorney general to expand our investigations into the abuse of lending and packaging of risky mortgages that led to the housing crisis. This new unit will hold accountable those who broke the law, speed assistance to homeowners, and help turn the page on an era of recklessness that hurt so many Americans.
On Friday, the Justice Department announced that they had issued civil subpoenas to 11 financial institutions. And today, it's my great pleasure to welcome to the program one of the co-chairs of the new investigative unit, New York Attorney General Eric Schneiderman. Mr. Schneiderman, thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris. Eric's fine.
I want to start. This is difficult. In the abstract, I think people understand. There was a lot that happened during the housing bubble and the securitization machine that was fraudulent, that was misleading to investors and also to the people on the receiving ends of loans, and that ultimately precipitated the crash. But I want to be a little specific about the timeline here, because for the people that have been following the story, as I have very closely, your name being announced by the president to this task force had a lot of resonance and meaning because of the backstory. So I want to step back to the backstory, which is every state attorney general started investigations, opened up investigations of the bank's foreclosure practices. Can you explain to people why you decided to start an investigation, why all the other attorneys general started those investigations?
Well, I got elected I took office a year or so ago, and one of the crises we were facing immediately was this wave of foreclosures. We have 15 million families in America that are underwater. They owe more on their homes than the homes are worth. 5 million families have been foreclosed on already, millions more in the pipeline. So this is an immediate problem for attorneys general, for governors, for everyone all over America who are dealing with these issues. My concern was that the investigations that were underway, it's very important to focus on abuses in the foreclosure process. It's also important to get back to the conduct that blew up the economy. And my concern always was we not release claims for the actual misconduct. Look, robo-signing is bad. Foreclosure abuses are bad. But the housing bubble and the crash that brought down the American economy, threw millions of people out of work, and really just exacerbated the gap between the middle class and the wealthy, that was man-made conduct. This was a man-made disaster. This was not a tidal wave or sunspots, as some would have it. And the goal of our investigation has always been accountability for those who blew up the economy, relief for those who were harmed, and also just to stop these guys from rewriting history, because quite honestly, the reckless deregulation that caused this crisis, it was caused by greed and recklessness in the private sector, too, but that was enabled by the reckless deregulation. You listen to some of the rhetoric in the presidential campaign on the Republican side, they're dishing out the same recipe for disaster that just blew up the economy a few years ago.
In terms of the foreclosures that attorneys general found themselves facing their state, there was a lot of evidence that started to come out that the banks that were foreclosing actually didn't have the proper legal title to the home. They didn't have the bank note, the loan. And in order to get away with that, there was a robo-signing scandal, which was banks were hiring people to sign affidavits saying, don't worry, we have the loan, don't you worry, we're going to foreclose on you. The fact that the note was missing was the rotten fruit of a poisoned tree, right? Because the actual entire securitization chain of custody and the entire means by which loans at the point of sale were converted into mortgage-backed securities, which were then packaged together and sold, the actual chain of custody, the legal chain of custody, was when the securitization machine got really ramped up, sort of fell apart, right?
Well, this is what we're investigating, and the joint investigation that we kicked off on Friday that you need three things to do this right. You need the jurisdiction and the combination of agencies now working together. For the first time, I'm confident we have the jurisdiction to cover every aspect of the conduct that brought about the bubble and the crash. You need the resources, and I'm confident we've got the commitment of resources. We will have, before this is over, there are going to be hundreds of people in the different constituent elements of the joint investigation working on this. And you need the will. And I got to tell you, the president's commitment, his language in the State of the Union, followed up by what Attorney General Holder announced and my interaction with my other colleagues, we have the will to pursue this. So it's very important to step back, as you're saying, and consider the implications of things that are coming up in foreclosure proceedings for the bubble and the crash. Back in a decade ago, a mortgage-backed security was a good investment. Just a pool of mortgages. You buy a share of the income stream from the mortgages. Everyone had 30-year fixed-rate mortgages. I had a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. And America was still in this lend and hold model. The bank lent you the money. The bank held the mortgage. You paid off the bank that lent it to you. It changed into what you just called the securitization machine. The point wasn't to finance people to buy homes. The point was to pour as many mortgages as you could, as fast as you could, into these trusts, sell off the shares, go get more mortgages. And there was almost an element of desperation that took over, and the need for speed created sloppiness, and that's a lot of what we're investigating. And that's where you see things like mortgages not getting properly deposited into trusts, or mortgages that didn't meet the requirements for the trust. And the implications of this go way beyond the securities fraud, which is a lot of people are focused on. If you didn't have all of the mortgages in the trust, when you went to the monoline insurers and said, please insure us, there are implications for insurance fraud. When you went to the taxing authorities and said, we want to have the tax status so this trust is not taxed twice, tax fraud is a possibility. The fact that we've now got the IRS on this joint investigation, the fact that we've got the new Consumer Financial Protection Bureau with Rich Cordray and his people in on this, we have the team we need to dig in on every aspect of this, where there are cases where in New York our statute of limitations is short, so you can't go back far enough in time. The federal statutes are longer. The combination of folks and agencies who are in this joint investigation really give me confidence that we're going to be able to get at every aspect of this.
I want to ask some more details about how this investigation is going to work, how the task force you've been charged with is going to work as well, right after we take this break.